In the early 2000s, soda was named public enemy number one in the war against obesity. In the 3 decades since 1975, obesity rates worldwide had tripled, the number of people with diabetes had quadrupled, and the number of obese children and adolescents had increased tenfold. By 2007, nearly 40% of Americans were obese. 1 in every 5 calories was from a liquid. Sugary drinks were the largest contributor of calories in the average American diet. By 2008, these patterns were clearly spreading beyond the United States. Mexico had the highest soda consumption per person in the world at 135 liters, which means one person in Mexico every year drinks 68 of those big party-sized bottles by themselves. Future studies would place Argentina and Chile above Mexico as countries with even higher soda consumption per capita. Coke and Pepsi, the two soda titans, put aside their rivalries and went on the attack united as a collective entity known as Big Soda. Big Soda claimed that it was unfair to single them out when there were other contributors to poor health, like candy, fast food, and lack of exercise. Big Soda spent millions of dollars funding scientists and lobbyists to influence research and policy, pushing assertions that it was a lack of exercise and not soda for the biggest contributor to obesity. Big Soda even went on to claim that there was quote-unquote near-zero association between sugary drinks and BMI.
Most of the focus in the popular media and in the scientific press is, oh, they're eating too much, blaming fast food, blaming sugary drinks, and so on. And there's really virtually no compelling evidence that that in fact is the cause.
What consumers need to know about soft drinks and blood sugar is that soft drinks do no more to blood sugar than any other food or beverage.
And Dr. Whelan, how about the soft drinks? So what's your take on those?
Well, the claim that soft drinks are a cause of obesity really has no factual basis.
Well, people get heart disease and diabetes from obesity, but that doesn't mean that...
Which is caused, they're saying in part by the sodas, right?
Well, it's caused by eating too much and not burning off those calories. Yeah.
So I think it's important to stick to facts, not mislead consumers, and not imply that soft drinks contribute to diabetes or heart disease or any other disease in any unique way. They really don't.
But the independent science was too strong, and the global health crisis was getting simply too severe to be ignored. People just weren't buying what Big Soda had to say.
Well, James Quincy is the president of Coca-Cola Europe. What good does Coca-Cola do you physically?
I think Coca-Cola, as the introduction said, does have some sugar in it. It is energy. Is it an absolute necessity? No, it's not. Millions of people enjoy it as part of their diet across the UK.
Does have some sugar in it, you say?
It does.
Why don't you say specifically how much sugar there is in this can, for example?
I think if you turn...
On the side you say 30, you have a percentage on there, don't you?
Yes, right here on the front, it quite clearly calls out the amount of sugar in this can of Coke.
And what does it say?
35 grams, which is 6 teaspoons of sugar, which is about the same amount of calories as a cappuccino or half a croissant. So there is calories. And actually, what we're doing is to say, look, the information is here. We want to actually promote and make sure.
Do you imagine people know if they go to the cinema, and this is a small one, and there are big ones here too. You go to the cinema and you get a jug of Coke like this. Do you think people have any idea how much sugar's in it?
And maybe they don't. And I think one of the things we need to do...
Do you know what it is? Look at this. 23 sachets of sugar in that single container, the equivalent thereof. Now, that is a staggering amount of sugar, isn't it?
That is why we're very focused, as one of the things we're doing, on getting the information out there. We're not trying to hide the information behind what's in a Coca-Cola
But you are trying to hide it.
But there's zero sugar in a Coke Zero.
Well, clearly, it's called a Coke Zero. But the Coke Classic, look at this one here. There's 44 packets of sugar in this one. 44!
Indeed there are, and I think what we're saying is, look, we want to make sure that people have the information available to them so that they can make the choices, and if they don't want the big one, then fine, and that clearly is not one that's going to be for everyone. We want to make sure the information is available. We want to make sure there's more availability of more choices, whether it's smaller packages, as you had in your intro.
Yeah, but whether it's 23 in something this size, or 44 in something this size, each of which is to be consumed in one single sitting at the cinema, this is staggering, isn't it?
Look, I think we do need to recognise that things need to change, that the bigger cups need to come down. I don't think that we are talking that the world can't change and the world doesn't need to move on. I think what it comes back to is we recognise that we need to play our part in helping to fix this very important issue of obesity. It's something that's come about from us taking in too many calories and not burning them off with activity, many things over many decades, and we're taking actions. We are promoting the information. As you point out, it is on the can.
By the way, the gentleman who gave this disastrous interview is now the CEO of Coca-Cola. Since this interview went viral back in 2013, Coca-Cola has intentionally conducted very few public interviews. Any interview nowadays that involves Coca-Cola is a scripted and paid arrangement where the reporter asks softball questions that the company has already prepared the answers for. Eating too much sugar is objectively unhealthy, and soda was the worst offender. As a beverage with no nutritional value, it's priced very affordably, easily consumed, it's deceivingly light and refreshing, and it's also highly concentrated in sugar. After much failed lobbying, Coke and Pepsi eventually gave in, and they admitted causation, not just correlation, between soda consumption and poor health. Policymakers have attempted to crack down on soda consumption in the past decade. Select countries and U.S. cities have added a special tax for sodas and other sugary beverages. The theory behind that is that by artificially increasing the cost of soda through a special tax, consumers would naturally decrease the quantity that they consume. In lower income countries like Chile and India, the soda tax starts at 18% and goes as high as 40%. American municipalities have also banned soft drink sales in schools, and governments worldwide have continued to push for even more aggressive measures. Singapore has outright banned advertising of soda and other sugary drinks, while Mexico has restricted when soda drink commercials can be aired on their television. While Big Soda has been unsuccessful in influencing science and research, they've been really effective at shutting down any anti-soda legislation in America at the state and federal level. Any measures against soda like taxes or bans in the United States these days mostly only exist at the city or county level. Despite Big Soda's successful lobbying, soda consumption has substantially declined in the past 2 decades. Consumers worldwide have become more conscious about the things that they eat, what they drink, and the consequences of those choices on their health. By 2015, sales of soda in the United States had dropped 25%. According to the CDC, soda consumption amongst teenagers, who are a critical target audience for Big Soda, had dropped by 24%. By 2017, soda consumption had plummeted to a 30-year low. The average American went from drinking 50 gallons of soda every year to 37.5 gallons in nearly 2 decades, which was a 30% decline in consumption. Fruit juice, including the iconic orange juice, which was once regarded as a healthy essential of American breakfast, had also been in freefall. By 2021, per capita consumption of juice in the United States had dropped 36%. Coke Zero, Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, Pepsi Zero, Sprite Zero, and Diet Mountain Dew are all examples of low-calorie, no-sugar offerings that the Coca-Cola Company and PepsiCo have aggressively marketed towards health-conscious consumers. Despite this, consumers are still skeptical with concerns over the artificial sweeteners that were used heavily in these quote-unquote healthier sodas. When we look at the top line of PepsiCo and Coca-Cola from 2011 to 2021, Coca-Cola's annual revenue has actually dropped by 20% from $48 billion to $33 billion. PepsiCo, on the other hand, is surprisingly bucking the trend with an unexpectedly upwards trajectory going from $66 billion to $79 billion every year. But PepsiCo's top-line revenue is misleading. While Coca-Cola is a beverage company that sells only drinks, PepsiCo has a diversified portfolio of drinks and convenience food brands. Doritos, Cheetos, Fritos, Lay's, Ruffles, Tostito, Captain Crunch, Quaker Oats, Chewy granola bars, and Rose Gold pretzels are all examples of food brands that are owned by PepsiCo. These best-selling snacks pad PepsiCo's top-line revenue and help compensate for declining soda sales. Snacks make up 55%, and drinks make up the other 45% of PepsiCo's annual revenue. If we adjust PepsiCo's total revenue to just their beverage sale, the real story emerges. Pepsi's revenue isn't a straight drop like it is for Coca-Cola, but their drink revenue has clearly stagnated. Coca-Cola's sales, on average, have gone down 1% every year for the past 10 years. Pepsi's sales, on the other hand, have remained in line with US inflation at positive 2% every year for the past 10 years. 2016 was a groundbreaking year where, for the first time in American history, people were drinking more water than soda. But the future looked bleak for the beverage industry. You could get water from the tap for free, or you could spend a little bit more to buy bottled water. You could pay a bit more for branded water like Fiji, Smart Water, or Evian, but very few consumers cared deeply enough about water quality to consistently pay for that premium. Even when soda consumption was declining, these high-end water brands that had been around for decades weren't able to capture any additional market share. Coconut water and tea were emerging, but appealed to only a few select audiences. If soda wasn't selling anymore, juice was out of fashion, bottled water was now commoditized, and premium water was really never able to outgrow its niche, the beverage industry was faced with a big question. Who would be the successor to Big Soda? What drink could directly replace soda, and what company could take over Coke and Pepsi's multi-billion-dollar market share? In 2016, the same year where Americans drank more water than soda, a small beverage company that had been under the radar since 1991 suddenly exploded in mainstream popularity and record sales. The Chosen One had seemingly arrived, boasting growth rates, unit volume, revenue, virality, consumer excitement that the beverage industry hadn't seen in decades.
To avoid sugary soft drinks, some make LaCroix their all-time favorite drink.
Sparkling water LaCroix. LaCroix, a flavored sparkling water.
LaCroix, all the way.
What's the fucking deal with LaCroix, am I right?
LaCroix. Fizzy, cold, refreshing, and incredibly addicting. It starts with just one can a day, and then before you know it, this happens.
It's one of the most popular fizzy drinks in the country.
Yeah, nothing's gonna stop me from drinking my LaCroix.
There's not a single office you can go to now without finding one of these.
Everyone here drinks them.
I drink 4 to 6 a day.
Our favorite new drink is LaCroix flavored sparkling water. This is the grapefruit, again, my personal favorite. 0 calories, 0 sugar, 0 artificial flavoring. Just a really great way to make sure you're meeting your water needs, but also a lot more fun than just plain water.
LaCroix, a fruit-flavored sparkling water brand owned by National Beverage Corporation, was suddenly the hottest beverage in town. A fizzy seltzer that was once laughed at as a Midwest mom's occasional indulgence, seemingly overnight became the primary drink of choice for millennials. Without sugar, sodium, artificial sweeteners, or ingredients, LaCroix ticked off all the boxes from a nutritional perspective. National Beverage Corporation, the owner behind LaCroix, knew that in order to win over millennials, they needed authenticity. Rather than blasting mainstream television with high-production advertisements like what was traditionally done with Coke and Pepsi, National Beverage Corporation opted to invest in social media marketing and packaging. LaCroix consumers turned into organic champions, writing love essays about the drink in newspapers and flooding Instagram with their obsession. The rainbow, colorful branding on its cans and retro look made LaCroix stand out physically at retail stores and turned it quickly into a fashionable status symbol. Between 2016 to 2018, National Beverage Corporation's revenue exploded thanks to LaCroix's popularity. The company's top line grew at 10%, 16%, and 18% in each of those 3 years. In the same time frame, Coca-Cola had its worst 3-year run in company history with a combined negative 23% drop in annual sales. Pepsi didn't fare much better with a combined 3% growth over those same 3 years. Case volume is a key core performance metric for the beverage industry. It's a measurement of how much drink volume has been sold for over a year, which then in turn serves as a lagging indicator for consumer demand. The higher your case volume, the more product that you're selling, which means the more people are drinking. Revenue is case volume times the average selling price. What's annoying is that National Beverage Corporation disguises the true performance of LaCroix by mixing in other drink brands into its financials. When you look at National Beverage's breakdown, the company intentionally blends LaCroix's sales and volume with its other brands like Clear Fruit, Rip It, Everfresh, and Mr. Pure. These are brands that I've never heard of and probably account for likely less than 1% of the company's overall revenue, but still, they do this. PepsiCo and the Coca-Cola Company use the exact same tactic. The Coca-Cola Company groups Fanta, Diet Coke, Coke Zero, Coke, Sprite together into one group and reports on their combined sales and volume. PepsiCo does the exact same. They group Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Sierra Mist, Mug Root Beer all together and then report on their combined case volume and sales. This means that there's no way to really evaluate LaCroix independently and compare the seltzer one-to-one with Sprite, Coke, or Pepsi. The same is true for analysis on the opposite end. There's no way to know if Diet Coke or Coke Cherry sells better than normal Coke, if Sprite sells less than Mountain Dew, if Fanta is more popular than Sierra Mist, or how much Coke outsells Pepsi. Only the company insiders know exactly how much each brand is selling. While PepsiCo's beverage sales look stable from a dollar standpoint, the reality is that the consumer demand for its soda has been in the toilet for years. Up until 2021, Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Mug Root Beer, and Sierra Mist combined had been regressing in volume for 6 consecutive years. From 2015 to 2020, Pepsi was shipping and selling on average 3% less soda cases every year. In 2 years, case volume had dipped as low as -5%. If it weren't for Pepsi's non-soda sales from Brisk, Lipton, Muscle Milk, and Gatorade to help smooth this damage, Pepsi's beverage business would look far worse. Instead of a straight decline as one might expect, the case volume growth for Coke, Diet Coke, Coke Zero, Fanta, and Sprite hasn't been positive or negative, it's just been non-existent. Since 2015, case volume growth for the Coca-Cola Company has been at 0%. The volume growth, on the other hand, for LaCroix and National Beverage is outstanding compared to Big Soda. It's clear that LaCroix's popularity was no short-lived social media fad. Since 2015, the company has enjoyed sustained 21% growth every year on average for the past 6 years. In 2019, National Beverage surpassed $1 billion in sales for the first time in company history, and there are few signals that suggest LaCroix's reputation and growth is ending anytime soon. The company has also kept its foot on the gas pedal, regularly launching new flavors to match seasons and to keep customers engaged. As impressive as LaCroix's demand and National Beverage's growth has been, the reality is that the company still has a long way to go before it can truly rival Big Soda. When you compare National Beverage in overall revenue or market cap, National Beverage is barely visible when you plot them with Coke and Pepsi. LaCroix and flavored sparkling water for the most part still seems to be a North American phenomenon. To reach the heights of Big Soda, National Beverage would need to scale its audience and operations beyond the United States. But international expansion doesn't seem too likely with the nationalistic and old-school vibes I get from their CEO, who writes some of the most entertaining shareholder letters in what appears to be 1996 Microsoft Word and clip art. His commentaries often come off more like rants, where the man has made it his personal mission to wage some religious holy war against Big Soda. But to his credit, LaCroix really seems to be holding its ground. Even with all these quirks, National Beverage Corporation does seem like a well-run, tightly managed ship with a clear vision and product. As much as LaCroix's success has been fueled by its strong product-market fit and operational excellence, their rise has also been fueled by their first-mover advantage. LaCroix as a brand had existed for more than 30 years, and for the longest time was the only seltzer in town. Coca-Cola's leadership didn't seem to take LaCroix seriously and appeared to dismiss its popularity as a millennial fad for years, believing that Diet Coke and Coke Zero would eventually win over the health-conscious consumers.
When I talked to you earlier, James, we talked about the resurgence in Diet Coke, and you mentioned that millennials were finding it. How did that happen?
Yeah, Diet Coke in the US, it grew again. It grew in revenue, grew in volume. What's interesting is it's actually got more households coming into the franchise. The brand indicator scores that we look at internally are getting better. I think it's a combination of some marketing, inviting reconsideration for a generation where perhaps not all of them are connected to Diet Coke, with the flavor innovation, with the innovation in the sleek can, which is a more modern, more engaging package. I think that combination, executed by the bottlers, has brought people in, and they found something that they like in what is ultimately a great tasting beverage.
The company finally did respond to LaCroix in 2017 by extending its existing brands like Smartwater and Dasani to release seltzer variants. But neither really caught on, and Sparkling Smartwater and Sparkling Dasani have both been discontinued. It was only until 2019 that Coca-Cola introduced AHA, its own flavored seltzer brand, and Topo Chico Sparkling Mineral Water to American consumers. PepsiCo responded faster than Coca-Cola by launching Bubbly, their own flavored seltzer line, in 2018. Bubbly's playful packaging and branding are all a clear emulation of LaCroix. If you can't beat them, join them. From all accounts, Bubbly seems to be gaining steam in the US market. On my last several domestic business trips, they were the only seltzer that was available to order on United Airlines. But first mover advantage doesn't last forever, and LaCroix must be feeling the pressure. There are new companies like Spindrift who have also ventured into the sparkling water market, who are all eager to carve off a slice of the pie for themselves. Despite the strong fundamentals of the underlying company, Wall Street has turned mostly bearish on LaCroix. National Beverage Corporation's unwillingness to scale beyond the United States haven't really helped convince analysts who remain concerned that the company will devolve into a one-trick pony and that long-term, sparkling water might just be commoditized like bottled plain water. Consumers may grow over time to not care so much about whether they're drinking Bubbly, AHA, Spindrift, or LaCroix, so long as it's a naturally flavored, not artificially sweetened, no-sugar sparkling water, the consumer will be happy. Whether or not LaCroix and National Beverage Corporation become the true successor to Big Soda will be up to its management, leadership, and time. But there's no denying the historic impact that LaCroix has had in forcing Big Soda to rethink its strategy and accelerating the fall of soda in America.
Should it be regulated?
Should it be regulated?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's about 7 donuts worth of sugar in there.
So, let's see, it doesn't
They don't
actually...
put the nutritional information on the bottle.
Oh, well, then it's on the container if it's on the package. Otherwise, it's not legal to be sold in the United States. I don't know where you got it.
Tell me about it. Got that in Washington, D.C.
Okay, well, I suspect you should probably
But you can
call
get
the
their
company.
nutritional information off their website.
Okay.
30 to 34
Well, I'm
grams
not
of
going to
sugar,
defend
depending
it.
on the flavor.
I'm just not going to defend it. That's a terrible practice.
Should it be regulated?
Should it be regulated?
Mm-hmm. Should children be protected from that?
Protected? Mm-hmm. That's what parents are for.